As you know, there's a little bit of a lag. We're not able to see it right off. But go ahead and let us know if you can see us and hear us. We'd love to know that. That'll help us to know that everything is working correctly, which we definitely want you to be able to see us and hear us when we go throughout this program today. Just making a last minute check here to make sure. And go ahead and also put where you're signing in from. Tell us a little bit about what you do in your comments. That'd be awesome. I'd like to know where our guests are coming from. And this is going to be a live interactive discussion. So if you have questions, comments, you heard something you really liked, just go ahead and hit us up in the comments so we'll know you're here and that you appreciated it. And we'll definitely be addressing your comments as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I go to that page and I'm able to see your comments as we go along. So let me pull that up right now. And then I'll introduce our guests. Okay. Everything seems like yes. All right. Yes. Wonderful. All right. Joe says, yes. Hi, I can see you and hear you. Jennifer David says, Jennifer David from Orlando, I can see and hear you. Wonderful. Okay, I'm very glad about that. Okay.
Yay.
All right. Hello. We have on the top right-hand corner, we have Kristen Baird. And bottom left, we have Noelle Kohles. Bottom right, we have Holly Kalua. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'd like you to go ahead and give us a brief introduction about yourself, starting in the same order with you at the top, Dr. Botello.
Yeah, I'm a family physician. I was a professor of family medicine, and I moved down to Charlotte. And at the very beginning of the COVID.
And I'm Kristen Baird. I am a nurse, author, and consultant, and my area of expertise is in helping healthcare organizations improve culture through engagement and coaching. I do a lot in leadership to serve them.
Yes, love that. Go ahead, Noelle.
Hi, everybody. I am Noelle Kohles, and I'm the director of nursing, but also pivoting my career now into the healthcare industry. It's a hot topic these days, and I've got a lot of experience to divulge out into the network there.
I've been a nurse for 35 years, last 20 years in revenue cycle, and I found several areas where I've pivoted, and I really want to share that experience with other nurses, and I've been coaching nurses on their career.
Now, to make sure that you're able to see it and your network can see that you're on with us today, monitoring those comments as we move throughout our discussion. The first thing I wanted to ask, thinking about or doing during this time.
This is a time where we have to kind of step back and be thinking about, it's a time to really reflect on what you have to do is get your arms around that and start thinking.
Say something.
Well, actually, I was going to. It's allowed me to be away from the crisis of healthcare. Talking about her comments about culture, the thing that I'm most interested in is the whole notion of how to promote equity, and I mean equity beyond healthcare. I mean across all field, exacerbated, and even made.
So we're going to unpack some more of that. We're in on one leadership action to support their staff. What do you?
I want to comment on the culture. Whatever measurement that we use. I was in a meeting and one of the leaders, and we're like, well, with COVID, they don't have any place to get numbers differently. And the thing I do with the staff, I would say most of the staff I was working with, some relative is affected. And so we have fires in Napa County, and we have loved ones and friends, and they're housing them, then they can focus on work. Otherwise, there's that stress they're holding.
Action as a leader that would have the biggest payoff in front of people. So many times you hear the expression, we're all in this together. Are we? Are we really in this together? So building off of what Holly is saying, our people are really vulnerable is through face-to-face contact, or I should say masked, fine. I like to teach leaders that fine is a 4-letter word, and who are having to do virtual learning and working full time. I mean, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress right now.
Absolutely. It's interesting. Today I'm having a little bit of a challenge with my internet, so that's why you saw me for a second there have my attention diverted. I apologize for that. But I'm getting these red marks that means the internet gets low, and I get a little nervous because I don't know until it's going to stop on their end until after it happens. So anyway, that was my my little brief diversion there. Sorry about that. All right, so going back
right
to
when I was talking about generous listening, Raul.
Yeah, that's what it was. I feel like I need to address it because I try and
That's
always,
funny.
focus on my guest. And it was one of those things where like, oh my gosh, this thing is about to freeze on Kristen. I don't want it to freeze while she's talking.
And the three of you brought up a really great point in different aspects, and that is culture. And what does culture look like? Because I think that's the important piece of, depending on the area that you're in, culture means something different to certain individuals and to the department or group that you're in. And perhaps in a few words, could you define what culture means to you?
I have a very simplistic definition of culture. It's how we really do things around here, not what we say. Okay, so a lot of organizations really talk about being very mission focused and
Right.
values focused. Are you really? It's how you really do things around here. So what are the beliefs and attitudes that reign supreme when you're in day-to-day operations? How do people really behave? How do they treat one another? It's one thing to have a value of respect, and it's another thing to walk through an organization and see that people don't make eye contact. They don't look up, So it's how you really do things around here. And oftentimes people, they talk about culture, but they've never defined it,
Yes.
right?
Point.
And that's what we find, is the real foundational element, is helping people to articulate what is your vision for the culture of the future, and what are the behaviors you'd see, what are the outcomes you'd see, if you really have a culture that's in sync with the organizational values.
That's great. Now, before we continue, I just want to look at some of the comments, and they actually noticed what I saw, which there was some buffering going on where it was a bad connection. And so for those of you who had a bad connection, no, it wasn't just you. It was actually from the source. I was seeing it 30 seconds ahead of you seeing it, that it was going to be bad, but I didn't know for sure. So thanks for all the feedback. We have a wonderful community here watching. So we have, let's see, Caesar Linhoko, Dr. Caesar Linhoko, thank you for joining us. We have Bill Metzler, Kendra Ballard. Of course, I mentioned Jennifer. We have Candy Campbell. Several are with us today, enjoying your discussion. So what I would like to do briefly is let's just kind of touch on some of those points we mentioned before. And guys, if there was a certain point that you missed, let us know in the comments and we'll cover that some more. But I did want to just let's do the basics again. I remember Holly, you talked about culture, and then Kristen followed up with it. Can we just touch base on that part? Because that's where we had a little bit of difficulties with the connection.
Yeah, so my short version is remembering that our staff are people and humans first. And then Kristen went on to, I love your generous listening technique.
Yes. Yeah, go with that, Kristen.
Yeah, generous listening means you can't say we're all in this together and then stay in your office. Generous listening is about getting out there and talking to people and finding out how they really are, because there's so much stress. And remembering that fine is a 4-letter word. If you do a drive-by and how's it going, people are going to say fine. You have to stop and listen very generously, and ask questions and probe.
Is fine ever a good thing? If someone says, "How's everything going?" they say fine. Is it ever good, or is it generally always bad? What's y'all's take on that?
What I usually say is, really?
Yeah. That's a good one.
You're fine? Really? Not quite like that, but you know what I mean.
If you've ever seen the movie Italian Job, not to get off subject, but it's sort of on subject, they use the word fine, and that one of, I can't remember which character it was, said, do you know what fine means? And the acronym for fine was freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So that's how I use the word fine all the time now. When I hear people say, I'm fine, I'm like, are you? Let's talk about what fine means.
Yeah.
Well, Rellis, I think if we hear fine a lot, then that reflects our culture. Because if we had a culture of safety where they say, I'm just feeling overwhelmed right now. It's COVID at home and COVID at work, or whatever. Culture. If you don't have that culture, then fine, because my boss doesn't really care and she doesn't have the time to listen anyway.
Yeah, just another take on the leadership element and the culture aspect of it. I see it from this is just a layer on the doing that you were describing, Kirsten, about how you can observe culture. But the other way is looking at from the quality of the interpersonal relationships from the smallest unit up across the organization. And there's a lot of variability. So you can have pockets of great culture, and that's the dynamics of the people who are getting along. And there are other places where it can be toxic. And I'll just give you one example of what, just before I got fired, I was having a conversation with the administrator there. And she was just telling me about her life. And she said, I was dreaming about getting COVID last night, whatever. And, that type of conversation goes beyond feeling fine.
Right.
And it's really about the quality of the relationships, because the quality of relationships determine how well you can do things together. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let me ask you this, Kristen, from your perspective, because you said it's a 4-letter word. Is that something we want to make sure that we are not hearing, and that we kind of remove that from the vocabulary so that we're not using that word? Is that what you're telling me?
Not necessarily. It just means when I partner that with generous listening, that you're really asking with meaning. Are you really fine? Really delve, because the other thing we're hearing a lot of is, I've got to minimize my issues because all of you are going through this, right? Or we hear that, we're all going through it, and it tends to minimize. And if we're generously listening, we're going to be able to pull people out and validate those feelings. So I'm not saying they shouldn't say fine. I'm saying that as the leader, to be listening with intent and watching. I always say, listen with your ears and your eyes, because those nonverbal cues are going to tell you so much more. Somebody may be saying fine, and the tears are streaming down their face, and you're going, something doesn't add up here.
Yeah. Well, for those of us who are married, if you ask your spouse, how's things ever going? They say, I'm fine. There's probably something wrong. so I'm taking that cue from what you're saying, Kristen. I need to make sure I'm actively listening in the moment so that I can see if that's are you really fine? Like what Rick said, or is there something else going on here? So yeah, that's good feedback. Okay, the other thing that we wanted to cover too, and I had it on my list here, and I lost it because I got a little distracted earlier. By the way, I want to give away a book. It's been a while. We're like 21 minutes in. I got to give away a book, guys. Okay.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Book time.
So I want to give away a book. So what we can do is, let me ask you as a panel, should we do a trivia question, or should I give them a challenge of some sort? Now, I think some of you saw my challenge I did this morning, where I had them do a word. What do you guys think? What should I do?
Trivia.
Okay, you want to do a trivia question? Okay.
I was thinking you guys were going to say that.
Not us. We're talking about the audience, not me.
Yeah. And there's one other choice I forgot to give you. Another choice I have is a never have I ever too. We could do that as well. So do you change your answer, trivia, or never have I ever?
I like trivia.
Okay, we're going to go with trivia. All right. So here's our trivia question. The first one to answer this correctly will win a copy of one of the books on our list. Now, I forgot to ask you, did you guys write a book? Anybody here wrote a book? I want to make sure I don't overlook you. Kristen wrote a book. Awesome. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a copy of Kristen's book, and we're going to give it out to the person who wins this particular trivia question. Okay. So let's go. Let's see. Let me see if I can find something kind of interesting for us to do here. All right. Despite having a name that means big, which singer is only 5 feet tall? So the first one to answer that correctly, I need this singer's name. Despite having a name that means big, which singer is only 5 feet tall? I'd love to know. Whoever answers that first will win a copy of Kristen's book. What's the name of your book, Kristen? Tell us about it.
Well, I've actually written 5, but I'll
Wow.
talk about raising the bar on service excellence. It's the Healthcare Leader's Guide to Putting Passion into Practice.
Oh, I love that. Well, you know, Quint spoke very highly of you.
Well, thank you.
He said he learned everything he knew about healthcare from you.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
I don't think so, but
that must be a
I'll
very good
take
book.
it.
The moment he said that, I was like, I gotta have Kristen on this show as fast as possible. Okay, all right. So let's see who has answered that question correctly. Who's won a copy of her book? Let's see here. Let me do a refresh. For some reason, I've had an issue recently with my LinkedIn comments where they just don't. I have to literally hit the refresh button to get more comments. Okay, let's see what we got here. And glad to know that it's better now. They said the internet's better. Oh, and someone, Joe said, that's a great point, Kristen. So you mentioned that must have been when we were talking about fine, I think. I think that's when we were talking about that. Yes, Caesar says, Dr. Limhoko says, generous listening is truly being a servant leader. Would you agree with that, Kristen?
Absolutely.
Okay. And Candy Campbell, Dr. Campbell, she says, so true, the silos in each organization are different. Interestingly, the silos that are safe may not feel safe with other silos.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And actually, Candy said she wanted to have trivia also, so she agreed with you. Okay, I'm hitting refresh to see if someone has answered this question correctly. Okay, so here's the guesses I got so far. I've got Bruno Mars as a guess. What do you guys think? What do you guys think the answer is?
Ariana Grande.
Oh, my goodness.
I love that.
Oh, my goodness. You are so on top of it, Kristen. That is it.
You just won your own book.
So, okay. So here's what we're going to do. We have a list. I'm going to get a list up here in a minute, and then you can choose one of the books. And since they didn't get it, I'm going to make sure you get one of the other books. And I'm going to give out your book here in a few minutes. We're going to give someone another
Awesome.
chance to win your book. Let me make sure I get up on the little picture here, the screen here, the different books that we have. And one of them is your good friend Quint Studer's book, which you may already have that one. All right, this is truly being.
For those of us that have, been in these leadership positions, it's not easy to, to hold people accountable to the point of do your job or get fired, because it doesn't work that way. You have to hold them accountable to the way that you do things. What is the value that they hold in the unit, and what are your peers' value and position, and what is their mission and vision that they live by? Because it's not about you as a leader, but if you continue to instill what the belief is in the unit and they have to adhere by that,
Right.
you're going to feel it. If not, this may not be the place for them.
Right.
And then those people will have to will have to step aside.
Okay.
And sometimes it's the conversations you have to have as a leader is perhaps this isn't the place for you. And that doesn't mean that you can't behave that way somewhere else, but this isn't what we do in our home, as Holly put it very nicely. We have certain ways.
And to go off of what Nicole is saying, for every day a leader does not take that stance, they're eroding their credibility, because
Absolutely.
the rest of the department is seeing, them ignore this ill behavior.
In fact,
Alice, how's it going?
I think yeah. Yes, it's back. Okay, it's back. Oh my! Did y'all see me sweating? Did y'all see me sweating just now? I was sweating bad.
It's all right. We took over it.
You
Don't
guys
worry.
are
We
you
got
guys
this.
are pros though. You just kept going. You just kept rolling. I love it.
The show must go on, right?
So what, guys who are watching this, I apologize for the part you missed. But what I'll do is I'll make sure my editors do that clip, and we'll redistribute it out through my profile so that it won't get missed, because it was some gold that they were dropping on us. So you definitely will be able to see this later. Okay. All right. So thank you for sticking with us. Those of you who stuck with us, we really appreciate you not giving up, because they could have just said, let me go do something else. So thank you. Thank you for sticking with us over the last several minutes. Oh my goodness. That was stressful, because you guys are so great, and I want people to be able to hear what you're saying. So thank you.
Krista was just talking about eroding your credibility. If you allow the toxicity, that erodes your credibility. And it actually builds your credibility when you deal with it. Because when I dealt with, that's so-and-so, I had pressure all the way up. They bring good money, leave them alone. And I said that I'm here to run a positive, healthy, non-toxic. And I straight up told the team, moving forward, this is going to be a non-toxic, positive team approach. And so those who enjoy that, great, I'm glad to have you. If that's not something that works for you, you might want to work on something else. So I just straight up told them that it's not going to be tolerated. And some self-selected out. But others really dove in and appreciated the coaching and is really thriving. So,
and that's totally okay. So I want to ask you this: so when you say toxic, non-toxic, how do you define that? Like, give me some examples of toxic behaviors, and feel free others can piggyback on that.
Well, I've got a good one.
Okay,
when
go
I
for
was
it.
working in critical care, we had a doctor who would come in and he would pitch fits, and he would throw charts, and this is back in the day. Okay. I know I'm dating myself, but this is one more reason why we love EMR, because you can't throw those. But no, he would throw charts, and I was sitting in front of the monitors in critical care, and he comes in and he throws a chart. It hits me in the elbow, and I was just so shocked. And I told my boss, I said, Dr. So-and-so he's throwing charts. And she said, yeah, the best thing is just stay out of his way.
Oh.
Well,
oh boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Ryan?
Anything here?
Well, we all have our stories about toxic environments and toxic incidents, but I'll just give you one brief example. I was working with a medical assistant who, I don't know what her issues were, but whatever was going on, she was not behaving appropriately. And I went into a room to do a pelvic examination. And for this, I didn't need to use stirrups for what I need to do. But I told her how I was going to do it. But then the MA said, well, let's put her in stirrups. I said, oh, no, we don't need to do it, But she overrode me, And afterwards I thought, boy, and then the patient said to me afterwards, "You guys don't have your act together." Right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That
So
hurts.
and then it becomes more complex because you have to get human resources. There has to go to administration. There's all these hoops you have to go through, so it was from my point of view wasn't handled very well for lots of. I could go into a lot of details. We all had these incidents that you could spend an hour talking about.
Right.
You don't
Right.
forget them. But anyway.
It really goes back to what the three of you were saying about, employee engagement does tie into culture, does tie into the energy that you put out there. And you have to be very thought provoking in the way that you behave yourself as a professional, and gave great examples of how that all does tie into culture and how do you lead that.
Exactly.
And sometimes the leaders are the ones that have the toxic behaviors. One example is we had I was working in med surg, and we had a bed that wasn't working, and we had a patient that had to come up from ER, and it was like the last bed, and so I grabbed a maintenance guy. He came in, he got right at it, fixed it, and I thought, I'm gonna manage up and share that act of kindness with his boss. And he comes into me the next day and says, please don't, I appreciate the accolades, but please don't ever do that again. I got into a lot of trouble for fixing that bed.
Wow.
And it was his boss that said, well, Chris didn't fill out the proper paperwork, and you didn't wait for me to give you the directive. And yes, there's a place for policy, but there's also a place to say, do the right thing at the right time for the right reason.
Yes.
And that spoke volumes to me about what kind of an environment the maintenance crew was working in.
Great.
So
Yeah, that's excellent. Okay, we're about to unpack a pretty serious topic. So before we do that, I want to lighten things up a little bit, and then we're going to get serious, okay? Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Let's lighten it up a little bit. Okay, so should we do a never have I ever? Should we do an open-ended question, or a would you rather? Holly, I'm going to let you choose, Holly. Which one should we do?
I guess let's go open-ended.
Open-ended.
Learn more about our participants.
Okay, so those in the comments, I want you to answer, as well as those in our panel today. Which is the nicest national park you've ever been to? Okay, in the comments, I want you to answer too, guys. What's the nice? By the way, Candy Campbell, she says, Shirley Kristen said we call those chart throwers. And Cesar Limhoko, he says, shameful behavior of that doctor. Speaking about that doctor, I guess, who was throwing the charts. Okay, so what's your nicest national park you've ever been to?
Well, I was just at Grand Canyon last month. I don't know if that's my nicest, but it's the most recent. And to see national parks through an 11-year-old's eyes, because I've been to Grand Canyon and I've, wow. But to see her go, take that breath. And she wrote a 4-page paper after, because I took her out of school for 2 days. And she, those are memories that she's going to have for a lifetime. So
what a difference between just reading about it in a book or something, right? You took her there to see it. Oh my gosh. It's amazing. Yeah. Okay. Any others in our panel?
I would say Denali. I loved being in Alaska and seeing Denali. I thought it was just absolutely breathtaking.
So are you saying Denali is more than just a GMC SUV?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I did not. Okay. That's excellent. Okay. I have to go there to Denali.
Alaska's beautiful. It should be on everyone's bucket list.
Okay. So guys in the comments, let us know what you think. What's been the nicest national park you've ever been to? Okay. Now let's go ahead and unpack this subject here. The question is, how do we prepare better for our future when it comes to things like inequities, right? There's COVID has revealed some inequities. And I think Dr. Patello, you're going to take the lead on this one, aren't you?
I could start off.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just thinking that what I might do, if you just give me a moment here to see if I can pull this off. I'm gonna put a quote into the chat box, because sometimes when people give a brief definition, people can't really digest it.
Okay.
Because it's a definition. So I'll be interested in people's reactions to it. Let me just put it in here.
So I guess I can put it in the comments for you, I guess.
I've put it in the chat. I don't know if it's showing
right.
up
They won't be able to see that though. Well, then let me go ahead and put it in the comments. Guys, I'm going to put this in the comments where you can see it, what he just put in. So 1 second here. That way everyone can see the, oh, by the way, Jennifer David says Yellowstone is her favorite. And Candy Campbell says Yosemite is awesome. So those are 2 more. See, we got some good ones. So we got Denali, we got Yosemite, we have Yellowstone, and Grand Canyon. We got a list of 4 already. We can recharge.
Niagara Falls is great. I don't think it's a national park, but that's a must go to too. Niagara Falls is beautiful.
Okay,
that's
now,
the only thing that I keep thinking about.
Do you like the Canada side or the U.S. side?
I like the Canada side.
Yeah.
Carefully, Canada side. Sorry.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
100%.
Niagara Falls as well.
Rick, I see your quote in our panel chat. I don't know if it went to the public chat.
I just hit it. I just put it in there. So now they see it. They're able to see it now. This is from Rick. That quote I just put in there you see from me, that's actually from Dr. Patello. Okay, so he's going to kind of expound and unpack this comment here.
Yeah, the pursuit of equity involves designing systems that gives everyone fair opportunities to reach their highest potential of healthy well-being, human flourishing, and virtues for the greater good of all. And it's a little bit, there's a lot of definitions out there, but the little tweaks in there, which I think are critically important, is incorporating the whole notion of human flourishing from the positive psychology perspective, and the issue of virtues, cultivating virtues. And there's a great book that actually is sort of like the DMS 4 or 5 of virtues. It's called Virtues and Character Strengths, and it's over 10 years old, and very few people have heard of it. But there's a website called Values in Action, and you can actually go onto this site and do an assessment of your virtues and character strengths. Because I think if we can aim towards equity, the need for justice goes way down.
Okay, now what I want to do is I want to make sure we get that in the comments. All right, so Joe, can you take down this website? Give us that website again.
It's Values in Action.
Valuesinaction.com.
I think it is. You may have to do a quick go. If you put Values in Action, I'm pretty sure it'll come up. Or I could, let me see if I can find it while other people are talking, and I can send it to you.
Yeah,
and Rick, would you say the name of the book again?
Yeah, it's called, let me see if I've got it.
And let's make sure, Joe, if you can, type this down.
Here it is. I happen to have it here.
All right.
Character Strengths.
Awesome.
And Virtues. And it's a handbook by Peter. It's also got Martin Seligman as a co-author as well. It's an amazing book. I mean, it's just, if you think about the things that we don't teach in school,
right?
It's civics, it's virtues, it's social behavioral learning, it's critical thinking. If we were much better at education, we wouldn't have the sort of problems we're having at the moment.
Right. Now,
so that's why we need equity, because educational equities, the flip side of that, leads to a lot of problems.
Now, Dr. Patello, it's interesting because you prepared me with that question. I decided to do a poll on one of my groups, and I got 53 votes. Out of those 53 votes, and let's see if I might be. Well, I'm not going to bother put it on the screen. It says that the question was, do you think that the current pandemic has revealed or amplified existing inequities in healthcare that were always there, or is it the cause? And 53% said it has amplified existing inequities, and 36% said it has revealed existing ones, and only 2% said not sure, too soon to tell, and 9% said no, it has done neither. So overwhelming majority think that it has either revealed or amplified inequities since the pandemic. So please, let's unpack this some more amongst you fine panelists.
Well, my quick response, it's both and. You should, multiple choice has to have a both and somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's unpack. Okay, how would you say it's revealed? Well, let's unpack that part. How do you think it's revealed inequities?
I'll defer to somebody else, and I'll add my 2 cents if there's anything to add.
Anything you've seen, Christine? It's not Christine.
Well,
Sorry, Kristen.
I think it's been well publicized, the disparities that we're seeing, based on, race, that there's a higher incident of mortality in the Black community. And, we can't ignore that. And I just had a conversation the other day about, with somebody talking about how his organization has created a Center for Healthcare Justice. He said to even go beyond equity, because he said it is what we're seeing right now is way beyond disparities,
right?
Way beyond inequities. And so to even label it healthcare justice, I was really taken by that.
Interesting.
And what I might add to that, I think justice is important for dealing with inequities. There's no question that the legal aspects are critically important. The flip side of it, if you're successful at it, then the need for justice is less. So it's both and. It's both and. But to me, it brings up the issue of people have heard the phrase, social justice warriors. There's that thinking, and I prefer to reframe it as equity peacemakers. Because to me, this is it's a different frame, and social justice warriors, it evokes war metaphors, and I think we need to use peace metaphors in health.
Ooh, I like that.
On how you phrase it.
Okay, well, that deserves something here. Let me see if I can give you something here. Right here, 1 second here. I think it deserves that. I like that.
I've been thinking about this. I've done a lot of slow thinking over the last, slow learning and slow thinking.
Give us that term one more time. So what are we supposed to be sticking with? I want to hear you say it one more time. I like it. Go ahead.
I said we want to transfer from being social justice warriors to equity peacemakers.
I love it.
Love that. That needs to be on a t-shirt.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
It's true.
Equity peacemakers.
It's the approach. It's all in how you say what you say that's going to deliver the outcome that you're looking for.
Exactly.
Yes.
You have reframed it so that it isn't that kind of militant,
antagonistic.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
It's you're getting involved in polarity management.
Absolutely.
Between social and individual values, and how do you balance them rather than, just take masks as a perfect example of polarization. I mean, that is just such a fiasco. We can't even come together and say, this is a pretty good idea for everybody's interest, but
yeah,
happening.
Okay, I want to honor some comments here.
Mike, we can't keep up with
I know.
I love it.
And Rick, I think I've got your T-shirt. It's tie dye and it's let's see, what it was, peaceful inequity.
Equity peacemakers.
Equity
So then you've got
peacemakers.
equity with the peace sign and peacemakers around it.
Well, thank you for that idea.
I love it. See, innovation at its finest, right here, live.
Equity,
Right here.
Then the peace sign, and then actually it could be embedded in the outer ring of the peace. Wow.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Designer on that one.
So we have more help from the comments. They've been helping us out here. Let's see. Joe looked up the website. She looked up and found changingminds.org/explanations/
No, I'll get it. I'll get it.
Okay, it's a different one. Okay.
And
Jennifer says, "I love the quote." So she liked the quote that we did earlier with the comment there that you had me put in there. Dr. Farrah Stevenson, she says, Denali National Park in Alaska. I agree. Alaska should be on everyone's bucket list. I loved it. So she agreed with you, Kristen. It's not just an SUV anymore. No, I'm sorry. I'm just showing how uninformed I was about what the real Denali was. Okay, Mammoth Cave National Park. That's from Patty Witt in Alabama.
Yes.
Alabama. Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. And let's see, we have. Oh, Kendra says the Gateway Arch. My first job was working there. It's brilliant in its uniqueness. So she liked the Gateway Arch. That's in Missouri, right? Is that right? St. Louis, Missouri, or where is that? I'm trying to think.
I think so. I mean, yeah.
I don't
Okay,
know.
I'm not the best geography
sounds like
person,
it.
but I think that's where it is.
I went up in the arch.
Oh, did you really?
I did. I was terrified for my life. I was like 12. But
Right. Okay, so this is great stuff we're unpacking here. I think, if we had to just end the show on those couple of things, getting rid of this "I'm fine" thing. Okay, we gotta make sure we're actively listening to make sure that this "I'm fine" isn't like a bunch of stuff under it that they're just not saying, because that's our culture, as Holly said it, because he said that can be a culture, right? Saying "I'm fine." And then I love Rick's point about changing social justice or injustice to equity peacemakers. Love that.
love that.
Yeah,
great.
you've enthused me about this, actually. I'm thinking, I've just been playing around with it, but I'm thinking, yeah, I like that design.
Okay.
Oh, that's amazing.
Now, here's
Roll with it.
this is a big one here. I want to get you guys to give me your thoughts on this, and in the comments, let me know what you think. Some say we should fix things. We should make it better. Others say we should tear it down and rebuild. When it comes to whether it's culture or if it's trying to address the inequities, like going to Rick's point, which is the being equity peacemakers. What's your first leaning towards? I want to hear each of you give your standpoint. Rebuild or fix, or rebuild totally or fix.
Who wants to go first?
It's very quiet.
Well, I'll put something else in here because I've been thinking about this issue.
Okay.
Everyone has been hearing "build back better," right?
Okay.
And to me, that is just refixing things, and it's not getting at foundational issues. So I don't like it. So and I'll put this into the thing. My quote is, "Build back better is not good enough. Break the broken, begin again, build anew."
Okay, so I'm going to put that in the chat. I'm also going to put this
just put it in the
website.
chat as well if you want to. I've got hashtags for it because I'm trying to sort of generate some interest around the idea of shifting from first order change to second order change.
Only you can see this. So only you and the rest of the people on this, like only us, like the four people.
I know that.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it where our group can see it. So let me do that now. I just put your other website in there that you just gave me, and now I'm going to paste this. Okay, so
It's
you're
even better with your accent, Rick, when you say it.
Yeah, I think it sounds better.
Yes.
That way. That's true. It won't
So
sound as
I'm
good as we say.
going to go back to something Rick said earlier and say it's a both and.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
When we're working with organizations on articulating a vision for the culture of the future and then moving them to that, there's a part that is co-creating something new, right? But there's also part of the culture that exists in many, many cases where it's worth preserving. Right? So when you're talking about the culture, you have to do a deep dive and do an assessment and find out what is working. What do we need to hang on to? What do we need to part with? And what do we need to innovate? And so meeting people where they are and taking them where they need to go. And helping them to come to those decisions about, what, we can do better than this. We can build better, but let's hang on to this because this is a part of our history. This is a part of who we are. So it's a both and, in my opinion.
I like that.
Absolutely.
Co-creation. I love it.
Well said.
Yes.
That deserves. Yes, co-creation. I like that. So, because you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing. That's probably not a great expression, but you don't want to just say, well, let's just get rid of if some parts are really good.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes total.
Yeah, and we have an expression that we often put out there, and that is honor the work that has been done. Because there have been people in an organization for decades and have put a lot of work into it, and they can be very resentful that, okay, there's a new kid in town and they've got a new way of doing things. That there has to be part where you honor the work that has been done and the people who have done it.
And
Absolutely.
that's part of the culture that makes up that organization, is those past experiences and history. I love that. And sometimes when a new leader comes in, he or she may feel bound to say, I want to bring in my team and my stuff, and I'm going to throw anything associated with that last person. I'm getting rid of all of it, because that's why they get rid of them. I'm going to get rid of that too. So I can see how that comes into play as well. Would you agree?
I would. And there have been many, many conversations I've had with CEOs who have wanted to dive right in like that. And I've had to say, okay, slow down. Let's honor the work that's been done, and that, I think, has been something that they've had to learn so that they didn't burn bridges along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so true, because it may be that a certain thing was associated with a past leadership that may have actually come from someone who's still there, who still has a lot of influence. And here you are, you're burning that thing down. You're kind of really hurting that person, or those persons who were involved with creating that, because they have no idea. The leadership, they don't have. They may have just only associated with that leader and not the folks, maybe the entire teams that worked on putting that together. I love it. Okay, so actually,
if I can just quickly add to that very, very
Sure.
quickly, the difference between first order and second change, hospital systems, I don't think need to be a lot of, I think a lot of them are good as they are. Where the real problem is in primary care, where you need the second order change and the complete redesign, because our primary care system is so abysmal, and particularly in rural health areas, it's gone down the tubes over the last 30 years, and it needs a complete redesign.
That sounds like a whole thing for a show. We should do like a
Like a
show.
whole other Oprah right there. It's great.
Yeah, that's like because that's a whole different animal, right? We're talking about primary care. That is wow, that's big. Okay, so yeah, we're definitely going to have that on a future show. Candy Camel says, love it, equity peacemakers. Basically what you learned in kindergarten, eh? That's what she says.
Exactly.
Patty Witt says, where will that shirt be for sale?
I'll get a designer through. I'll get a design.
It sounds like Rick and Holly have got a business going right there for that
I was
one.
going to say, sign me up.
Jennifer David says, yes, St. Louis. So it was in St. Louis, the Gateway Arch, and Kendra says the same. So we got the website out there. Okay, so I cannot believe how quickly we've come to the end of this hour here. I want to give away another book or something here. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do a word. We're going to do a word challenge. The first one who gets this word out there and they get it without being interrupted is going to win a copy of the book. I'm going to make it a little bit more difficult, so because we got some veterans on here, so I got to increase the level of difficulty a little bit here. I say veterans, I mean they've been on this show before, not actually veterans. Maybe they are veterans, but anyway. All right, so we're going to do a new word, and the word that we're going to do right now is going to be streaming. So it's going to be hard. Streaming. So that's with the ing on the end. Separate comments. STREAMING. The first one will win a copy of Kristen's book.
Hey. No
So,
pressure.
yeah.
No
Okay.
pressure.
Now, while
Tell
they're-
the rules for newbies who don't know what you're wanting them to do.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't do that, did I? Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry. Okay. So I'm going to look for newbies, too. I'm going to do a first for veterans and a first for newbies. Okay. So what we're doing is each letter has to go in a different comment. Okay. You can't just do streaming in one comment. You have to go S and then a TREAMING. Okay. So you got to type really fast. So if you're a newbie and it's your first time doing it, I'm going to look for a newbie. We're going to pick one newbie and we're going to pick one that's been here before that knows how to do it. So you'll still have a chance to win. Thank you, Holly. Let's give a cheer for Holly. That was a great idea. Thank you, Holly.
I had
Good
no
job,
idea.
Holly. Good job.
Okay, I'm going to hit refresh here and see what they've come up with. So we're going to pick one newbie and then one one person who's been here
Ooh,
before.
Kristen got fancy.
Just thought I'd throw that out there.
You know,
What did she do?
she got fancy.
I was giving an applause to Holly.
Oh, awesome.
That's awesome. I don't know if you can see it, but I love that.
Okay, so Candy Campbell, she says, laugh out loud. I call my seminars tear down walls and build bridges. Same idea. Kendra says, yes, the Gateway Arch is located in St. Louis, 630 feet wide by 630 feet tall. Learned something new today. Okay, while they're finishing that up, I need to ask you guys a quick question, and it's a never have I ever. Okay, so you have to say if you have or you never. Never have I ever fallen asleep in class.
That's a double negative. I haven't played this game before.
So you're supposed to say whether you have or you've never.
Have.
You have, okay. Is it often
Does
or
it
is it
count
just
if
once?
I've tried?
There you go.
And
I
they
love
wouldn't
it.
let you sleep.
Tried, but not succeeded.
Oh, Kristen, that's great.
Are you saying the instructor kept interrupting you from sleeping?
Yeah.
How
See,
about
perception.
that's funny. How about you, Noelle?
I actually fell asleep during my NCLEX.
Oh wow! Oh my goodness!
You know, it was back in the day where it's like you had to wait weeks for it. I was so overwhelmed with anxiety and stress. I actually just leaned forward and I fell asleep. The proctor had to come in and say, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not okay. It took me 4.5 hours to finish it.
Oh my
but I
goodness!
I passed.
Yes, that's a good thing. You passed. How about you, Holly? Any confessions? Or have,
NCLEX.
you have or you've never?
I'm just admiring Noelle, how smart she is. She had time to take a nap and still pass. And that was the day, same thing, where, you know, you're sitting there with your paper and it's hours, and then you wait 6 weeks to find out if, you know, your entire life is going to change or not. I think I've probably done a few nods. Yeah, but I don't think I actually slept.
Okay. Well, I can tell you I've fallen asleep. I can't even count how many times I've fallen asleep in class. So I would probably win the award here as for the most sleeping in class. Guys, in the comments, have you ever fallen asleep in class? You have or you've never? It looks like the winner of our challenge is Patty. So let's give it up for Patty.
Right,
Awesome.
Patty.
Yes, we're clapping for Patty. And then if we have any newbies that tried and they just weren't successful in beating Patty, we definitely can do a second book. Okay, and they'll win Kristen's book for today. Really appreciate having you guys on. This hour has flown by, and you guys stuck with us through all the internet challenges. I apologize for that, but thank you for being here.
Thanks,
It was a
Rob.
pleasure.
It was fun.
Yeah,
It's
you
been a
guys.
lot of fun.
Yeah, we need to have a reunion. I want to bring this group back again. This is good. Okay, I want to do a show where I talk about primary care in the future with Dr. Patello separately. I want to do one separately with Kristen and eventually with Holly, and then maybe Noelle can be my co-host. I want to do those separately, but I also want to bring you guys back as a group. How about that?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rick, you gotta get your shirt ready so when he has you back.
Yes.
Yes.
Get the shirt
I'll look-
ready.
I'll see if I can get it done in time.
Oh my
sounds
gosh,
great.
That's amazing.
Now, I'm curious, before you guys started getting involved with the show and all that, did any of you know each other?
No.
I love it. This is great.
You're the connector.
This
You're
is
the
exciting.
You are the connector, Rollins.
I get-
You connected all of us.
No, I get excited about this stuff. This is really cool. You know, this world is so interconnected in a lot of different ways. And when I was interviewing with Quint the other day, and he was talking about, because I had interacted with Kristen before in the inbox before, and she had watched one of my shows before, but I had no connection with her and Quint. And then Quint mentioned when he sees Kristen's on the show, he's like, "Oh, well, I learned everything I know about healthcare from Kristen." So it's just really cool to see all these connections happening. So again, thank you for being on the show. You guys were great today. It was very engaging, and for those missed spots, guys who are watching the comments, we're going to make sure our editors put that together where you can see that on my feed a little bit later, because it was some really good stuff that they were sharing with us. So thank all of you. Now, how should folks connect with you? Should they connect with you on LinkedIn? Do you want them to go to a website? What do you want them to do to connect with you in the future?
LinkedIn works well for me, and I put a LinkedIn blog post there if you want to transfer it over, because people can connect with me that way if they want to.
Now, what I did do is I tagged all of you in this particular discussion, so they will have access. If you're looking up in the description area, you click see more. I have all of their LinkedIn profiles, so you can just click on it right away.
Oh, that's good.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's the best way, I think, for me as well.
Okay, great. How about you, Holly?
That's perfect. Thank you.
And I know that's the same for you, Noelle. All right, 'cause she's already told me before, so all right now.
You got it.
All right, well, thanks. Have a great rest of the day. Appreciate you being on. Thanks to everybody watching the comments. Please join us tomorrow. Tomorrow we have our 9:30 our event, our conference in the morning. And then also in the afternoon, we have our Fun and Games Friday, which is always fun. It's just like a bunch of never have I evers and would you rather questions and games and all that stuff. So we'll be doing that tomorrow afternoon. So and I'd love to have you guys on that show one day too, if you want. If you ever want to join me on that, please do. All right, thanks everyone. Oh, and we're going to do a couple of closes. As you got, we're going to say bye to our group though. Let's say about our folks in the comments. Bye guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Okay, now I want you to stay on. Let's do just a couple of quick poses for our editors. Okay, we're just going to like a nice happy pose first.
Let me see if I can change my.
Okay.
Where'd she go?
She left.
Because
Elvis
just
has
start
left the
getting brighter
building.
and brighter. Oh, there we go.
This
Okay.
looks great. Okay, you ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me do something a little crazy.
I don't know what to do. Crazy.
Okay, very good. All right, well, thank you very much once again. You guys were amazing. Keep doing what you're doing for healthcare. We love it. We appreciate it. Whether it's culture, you guys talked about great stuff about that, redesigning stuff in healthcare. This is all exciting stuff. So thank you very much. Thank you, Noelle, for being my co-host. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.